Okay, so for this one, we're gonna our Montreal steak seasoning, sea salt, fresh garlic, cut green beans. We're gonna have our beef broth. We're gonna be going with a little bit more potatoes than normal on this one. So we got two things of beef broth because we got a gigantic top round roast there, and we're gonna be searing that in a cast iron skillet with our tongs. Make sure to grab yourself some cornstarch too if you don't have it. We're going to set this aside as well as these items. We're going to set all of these items aside, and we're going to put them in later. But definitely get your cornstarch from the store as well, and set that aside with these ingredients as we will use these closer to the end, about 2 hours from the end of when the beef pot roast will be done. Okay, so now you're going to go ahead and peel and cut your potatoes. Okay, so once you're done cutting and peeling your potatoes, you want to go ahead and put them in the bottom of your slow cooker. You just want to make a nice bed for your meat. Sometimes you even just kind of want to put one little layer on the bottom, just so it doesn't stick. And then that way your potatoes can be spread evenly about. Also remembering to put your lid on during this whole process to help keep the freshness of your potatoes alive. Also remembering to use Yukon Gold potatoes, because if you use pretty much any other kind, they're going to just turn to mush as you cook. Okay, so now at this point you're going to go ahead and take your fresh garlic and separate 2 cloves, and you're going to go ahead and dice one up right now. Okay, so you're going to take your 1 clove of diced garlic, and you're just going to go ahead and you're going to put that straight into your bed of potatoes. That's where you're going to put your first one, and you know that's going to really spread around when you get the broth in there. That's what you're going to do with your first clove of diced garlic. That's just going to go right in the potatoes, and then you can really move those back around again if you want to help spread that around. And now you're going to go ahead and just try to trim as much fat as you can off of your top round roast, and you're just going to go ahead and season that with your salt and your Montreal steak seasoning if you choose to use that. Okay, so you're just going to flip that over. And then you need to help it with your hand. You can get a spatula. Again, we're not cooking this, we're just browning it. Shouldn't even say sear. Sear isn't even the right word. You really don't want this cooked. You're just browning the outside. Okay, so now with that done, you're just going to go ahead and pop your lid off. And you're just going to place your roast right in the center of this thing. Right in there. And set your roast right in there. Okay, so go ahead and dice up that other clove of garlic I told you about. And go ahead and distribute that evenly into your slow cooker on top of the meat. And you know, basically now that this is in here, we want this on top of the meat as well as the potatoes, so that way as we pour in the broth, this cooks with the meat too, falls down, and just really gets that garlic into it. So now go ahead and pour in your beef broth. We're just going to go ahead and pour that in the bottom and let that fill up. So now you're going to go ahead and put your lid on, and you're going to go ahead and turn your slow cooker on, and you're going to go ahead and put that on low, and that's going to go ahead and cook for 10 hours. Okay, so now at about 8 hours in, what we're going to do is we're going to stir about a tablespoon of our cornstarch into a bowl with some of our broth.
Then you're just going to go ahead and mix that up pretty good into a bowl. Just make sure, you know, it's nice and finely mixed. You don't have any lumps or anything like that.
Now we're going to go ahead and take our lid off, and we're going to add this mixture to our stew. And you're just going to try to add that on the sides if you can to really get it into the other broth. So add that to the sides. And what that's going to do is that's going to thicken your broth as it continues to cook the remainder of the next 2 hours. At this time, at the 8-hour mark, 2 hours from when it's done, you're also going to add your green beans now as well, because the reason we're adding these now instead of when we did earlier, when we added everything earlier, is just because we don't want these to get mushy. These really don't take very long to cook, so we're going to add these now, and they're going to continue to cook for the last 2 hours as well. Okay, so now at your 10-hour mark, you want to go ahead and take your lid off, and you're going to take your meat out, and you're going to cut it up on a plate and get it nice and good and cut up. It's going to be really, really juicy and tender. It's just going to fall apart, and then you're going to put it right back in. So honestly, even as you start to take this out, your meat should just kind of fall off. So you really don't even really need a plate a lot of times. A lot of times you'll go to take this out, and the meat just starts to fall off right like that. That's about how it should look. Not like that. Nice and tender. And it will be a little bit red in color sometimes for the thicker ones, but notice no blood. It is fully cooked. Man, that looks so good. Yeah, it should just peel right apart like that. Okay, now once your meat is all cut up, you can go ahead and stick your lid back on for another 5 to 10 minutes to really help out with thickening that stew up. And there we have it. There's our finished beef pot roast.